Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Saturday, May the 4th, and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And a big pile of things to unbox. So, let's get the knife out, make a start. Slide knife there, almost there. Pull away from the fingers, and we're in. So let's just move that across there so I can better access the box. And what I've got in here is Old Norse for modern times. And Jotun War Collected Edition of the Viking verse. There we go. Lots of interesting things in here. The Allfather Paradox. And Loki's Voyager. More fiction. And at the bottom, When the Wolf Comes, a Viking verse role-playing game. So, actually, quite a lot of things in here to really look at, which I will come back to. So, you know, you've actually got a cartoon, a graphic novel there, and a guide to Old Norse for modern times. You know, so essentially 2 works of fiction and a graphic novel, bit of a comic one, you know. But When the Wolf Comes, a Viking verse role-playing game powered by Shadow the Demon Lord. This is by Ian Stewart Sharp. So they all seem too few. When the Wolf Comes. When the Wolf Comes is a game of storytelling, heroism, and epic struggle set during a reimagined Ragnarok, a parallel timeline when the Norse rule sea and stars with restless fleets, and Christianity has been put to the Viking sword. A complete tabletop role-playing game in one book. When the Wolf Comes provides everything you need to create and play characters, form warbounds in pursuit of fame and plunder, and tell new Norse sagas with your friends. The book also gives game masters all the tools they need to create adventures, a bestiary full of deadly creatures, a detailed history of the new Haimar, and extensive advice to help run the game. When the Wolf Comes features a whole heap of rules and features to help you unleash your inner space Viking. Norse origins from the monstrous Jotnar to the Alpha, the true scions of Yggdrasil. Be warned, you'll not find Tolkien-esque pointy-eared archers or wee fairy folk here. Storied heroes from the Wanderweird to the Widefarer build futuristic Norse characters drawn from the pages of the sagas. 100 plus spells and gifts. Norse magical tradition is the marked by sacrifice and ritual, edged in secrets and blooded in war. Master spell, song and seder, or learn to harness your hammer, hugger, and other gifts of nature. Old Norse for modern gamers. Each path, spell, and weapon has its own authentic Norse nomenclature. It's up to you to whether you play as a Varangian or a Varangi, an outlaw, an Utalagi, a thread reader, or a Prayadora. Sorry, my Norse is rubbish. Judgment ship the Norns, their unfathomable minds at play in the Viking verse, twisting the lives of mortals to their intricate design. With them come new rules for fate, honour, shame, shell shock, and lineages. A ready-made adventure. Grab your battle rifle and venture across the World's End in the first chapter of Thought and Memory Saga. Let your enemies feel the sting of your weapons, and your allies be heartened by your courage. Should you fail, be sure that it is a glorious end, worthy of song and the pride of future generations. So Shadow of the Demon Lord is from Robert Schwab Entertainment, and it's best described as kind of like what would happen if an American decided to design his own version of Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. Now, it doesn't have the deep lore, but it has that grim and perilous sense of the world, and the characters are fantastically detailed in the terms of how they progress in their individual careers. And the great thing is that you start off really kind of an equivalent of level 0, and you advance career, you level by level, career by career, step by step, gaining something every level. So you become more powerful as you play, and this is basically going to do the same thing. So look at the credits page, contents, and forward. And it's across the Empire. Hordem rife, a gene age, a machine age, mankind has driven a restless age, a deathless saga. Before the nine worlds go headlong, no longer is there mercy among what once were men. And you've got the Odin's ravens there. And then it's got an introduction, and 9 things to know about when the wolf comes. So, basic introduction, principles of the game. Then how to play it, so looking at the role of the game master, the players, the story, and then we get on to the rules, and how to use the book. And you've got first of that sort of kind of excellent artwork, and basically looking at media inspiration, how to unleash your inner Viking. Okay. We've got a guide to pronunciation and a quick reference guide there. And again, more terrific artwork. And then we're into character creation and options. So you'll create your men, and you've got a table of origin tables, then you've got the same for the alpha, and how to create an alpha, and Dverga, and so on. So you've got these, this is Jotnar, hybrid origins, so you've got Darker Alpha, Sons of Ivaldi, all fantastic character options, really nicely sort of like, caught and illustrated. You've got Jan Vidya, again, sorry about my pronunciation, if you're listening to this and you know Old Norse, well, yeah, sorry. Orkneys, so you've got sort of like, science fiction Viking kind of interpretations of classic fantasy races to an extent. And then we move on to professions, and these are really sort of like really quite expansive. So you've got a guide to what they are, you've got how to role play them, talking about relationships, and how to build a group. And then we're on to how to handle level advancement and playing the game. I'm looking at the basic elements of the character, so it's attributes and characteristics. social status, movement, damage, vector damage, sorry, and death. Possible afflictions you can suffer, so, you know, blinded, grabbed, charmed, immobilized, that sort of thing. What you might find around you, the environment. How to handle inspiration and social interaction before we move on to combat. How to make an attack. For example, throw a grenade. And then that's the core rules. Then we look at the different paths. These are the sort of professional paths you're going to follow. So, path of the wise, path of the scald, and path of the outlander. Then move on to path of the oathsworn. And then, having done the novice paths, we move on to the expert paths. So, berserker, godsman, housecarl, number witch. Just trying to stop myself shouting, that's number wang. So you've got these numerous different options, you know, for taking the direction in which you can send your character. To create an interesting and playable character. And this is just the expert. You know, you've done novice, you've done expert. Then you have mythic paths, and this artwork is great. And you can see how sort of like you want to see that in action, you want to see that in the graphic novel. Here we go, more of them. Marshal, machinist, wish maiden, wolfcoat, ashwife. Even a lindworm, something, you know, you basically is sort of like treating other role-playing games as sort of like as a threat. And it has really kind of a big, epic feel to it. And then Path of the Gods. Essentially, so that's not, it's sort of basically, that's really a list of more extra talents rather than sort of like full kind of sort of careers or professions as it were. You've got a section on equipment. Special weapons and explosives. No illustrations, sadly. List of adventuring gear. And we're looking at vehicles and maneuvers. List of sample vehicles there, but again, no illustrations. And when we have spellcraft and spirits. So we're looking at crafts, and that's one of the great traditions of knowledge. So Lif, Galdar. So Lif is, let's have a look, basically incantations get the spirits of disease, but they can crack the genetic code, so there's advanced manipulation. Galdar is the mastery of spell song. Gand is essentially understanding of the primal forces from which worlds are formed. Runar is basically runes and the secret attack built into them. Sadar is the manipulation of thought and memory. And then Spycraft is a skill of seeing what is unseen to others and speaking of what will come to pass. And we've got gifts of nature, like Hamar, which is essentially shaping physical appearance, thoughts, basically emotions, personality, and desires, and so on. Your Filga is an animal alter ego, and luck is your protective spirit, so on. Memory, Mini, is your history and experience. So that's all dealing with the characters, and then we move on to the 9 homeworlds, in which we have the Norse Guide to Temporal Mechanics. Brilliant! It's just fantastic. Sort of like, you know, it's the juxtaposition of the two together. It doesn't make any kind of sense. You know, you wouldn't normally have those together, but you know, obviously in the context of When the Wolf Comes, a space Viking role-playing game fits perfectly. Okay, so we have a guide to the present day. Which is the present day for this setting. So this is the world of the future, the Viking world of the future. Alternate world of the Viking future, in which the Vikings have, you know, conquered space, driven off the threat of Christianity, and carried out its culture to the stars, and so on. And we've got technology and transportation. Religion as well. So the people of the tree, people of the cross, different cultures. Other religions as well, it doesn't mean all those. Languages. And then we have the section for the Game Master. Of course, you know, that's going to be overseen by Odin. You can tell by the one eye he has there. So, Game Mastery basics, deciding what happens, all discussed here. How to adjudicate and handle the rules with examples. How to run adventures. How to create adventures. So quite an extensive guide to that. And then handling adventures by level, because obviously this is a profession and level role-playing game. And you've got here a guide to sort of like, here are the types of adventures you could have. So you've got a gauntlet there, a well, and a web. So those are sort of like plot structures you can build, and then expanding that out into campaigns. Dealing with transportation and movement, adjudicating combat, just basically going over the combat rules provided earlier in the book, scaling this up to battlefields, including the use of miniatures, adjudicating player characters and their creation, Threads of Fate tables, adding in that element to play. We're handling character death. And then how to use Ragnarok in a game, because that's always the threat that's hanging over, so on. And here are sort of like some of the ideas and themes you can sort of throw at the player characters. And then more tools and advice. Including sample traps and hazards. And artifacts. Some sample artifacts there. So, confabulation of Lector Mirabilis, Eden's Apples, Lindisfarne Gospels, so on, Shield of the World, and then Viking Age games. So essentially, it's set an alternate pagan present Norse punk. Bestiary as well. A whole new meaning to his master's voice. So, describing essentially the building blocks of the creatures and what features they can have, and then we get into the first of those with the Alfheim. And then Asgard includes sort of like a well pisser. Monsters being encountered in Jotunheim. Including a skull worm there. Nasty looking beast. Things being encountered in Midgard. So on. And then after the bestiary section, we're just going to show you some more, because that works really fantastic in here. You just could sit here leafing for the artwork, but I don't want to do that. So we've got quite a lengthy bestiary in here, and then we've got creating characters and customizing creatures, essentially deciding upon the role and then fitting that role to a template and adjusting it according to level and difficulty. And then we have the Rider of the Flows, which is going to be the sample adventure. So we've got quite a bit, a couple of pages of in-game fiction. Well, I mean, that's fiction before we get to Nobody Dies in Jopamarka. And this is the actual scenario. Comes to the end of the adventure, got more artwork on show. And the appendix with a timeline from AD 1 to 400, all the way up to, in fact, this is all the way up until 1973 in the real world. Sort of like that's the timeline. There's several pages of timeline. Got an appendix of Norse nicknames. And the index. And that's it. That is When the Wolf Comes, a Viking-verse role-playing game. Powered by Shadow the Demon Lord. Well, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game, in this case, a Viking space roleplay, a space Viking role-playing game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so. All, of course, accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.